to save us now. It's gotta take a miracle to save the world. I can save us now. Oh, Jah can save us now. Jah can save us. Oh, yes. Oh, Jah can save us. It's gotta take a miracle to save us now. It's gotta take a miracle to save the world. It's gotta take a miracle to save mankind. Oh, just it's gotta take a miracle to save us now. To save us now. They are building bombs. They're building nuclear weapons. They're building ammunitions, causing death and destruction. Everywhere you go, there is war and violence. People dying every day, and it makes no sense. Just where did we go wrong? When will mankind live as one? Creation. It's gotta take a miracle to save us now. Oh, it has gotta take a miracle to save the world. It has gotta take a miracle to save mankind. It has gotta take a miracle, just save us now. Is love really gone? Or is it hiding somewhere? Yeah, we've gotta find it. Yeah, we got to live and share. We've got to live and care. Live and care. Live and care. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I gotta find a way to make them live and care. Cause it's gotta take a miracle to save us now. And it's gotta take a miracle to save the world. It has gotta take a miracle to save mankind. It has gotta take a miracle. Please save us, Jah. What more could we expect? After all that God has done, the miracle begins. We're living up as one. Just where did we go wrong? Where has all the loving gone? Oh, well, I say it's gotta take a miracle. Gotta take a miracle. Gotta take a miracle to save us now. Whoa, after all that God has done, give it as He said, and the world that lives on. It's gotta take a miracle to save us now. It's gotta take a miracle.
Fourth week, attacks have continued around the region, including in Iran and Israel. Our world news correspondent Joe Inwood has our first report.
This does not feel like a war that's de-escalating.
Whoa.
This afternoon, the Israeli town believed to host their nuclear arsenal was hit by an Iranian ballistic missile. Retaliation, Tehran said, for a strike on one of their nuclear facilities. It was not the only attack that expanded the scope of this war. Iran fired 2 ballistic missiles at the UK-US base on Diego Garcia, around 2,400 miles from the Iranian coast. Although neither hit their target, it is far further than their missiles were thought to be able to reach.
We've seen the latest in Iran's reckless strikes aiming at Gulf partners, at international shipping, at allies and British interests as well. And that is why we have continued to support defensive action.
There had been some speculation as to whether the missiles could have reached that far. The Israelis say the threat was real.
Iran launched a two-stage intercontinental ballistic missile with a range of 2,500 miles towards an American target on the island of Diego Garcia. These missiles were not intended to hit Israel. Their range reaches the capitals of Europe.
The full scale and capacity of Iran's ballistic missile program has long been the subject of debate. Today, some of those questions have been answered.
It shows that the radius of action Iran has is much bigger than people thought. It brings potentially European cities into target range, unlikely as I think that is at the moment. And it certainly complicates the job of missile defense across that area and focuses the thinking of European capitals. It also shows that Iran is able still to surprise the US and Israel, I think, 3 weeks into this conflict.
While the missile threat may cause the most alarm, it is the war's economic cost that is more significant. That comes primarily from the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Today, the US said they destroyed a key Iranian base.
We not only took out the facility, but also destroyed intelligence support sites and missile radar relays that were used to monitor ship movements. Iran's ability to threaten freedom of navigation in and around the Strait of Hormuz is degraded as a result.
But Iran says it's not just military targets the US and Israel are striking. This was the port of Bushehr, near the strategically important Kharg Island. Donald Trump has repeatedly said that Iran's military has been all but destroyed and that he may soon call an end to this war. But today's developments suggest that Iran has no intention of letting Donald Trump declare a quick victory. Joe Inwood, BBC News.
Well, as we heard, the US said there Iran's ability to threaten ships in the Strait of Hormuz has been degraded after the US bombed an underground military facility this week. But the vital channel has been effectively closed to most commercial shipping for nearly 3 weeks now. And that is impacting the cost of living. Today, the National Farmers Union warned that food prices in the UK are likely to rise. Here's Ezra Carr.
The reason the conflict in the Middle East is having such significant economic repercussions is largely down to this: the Strait of Hormuz, a key shipping channel where a fifth of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas, or LNG, usually passes through, and a third of global fertilizer supplies. There's now a warning on how that squeeze is filtering through to farming and food production, putting pressure on supply chains, which farmers say will lead to higher costs.
Obviously increased freight costs because of the massively increased energy costs and fuel prices. So that's going to be a direct impact that's going to happen immediately. For things like our glasshouse production of peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, gas may be 30% of the production costs. And if you haven't got that all hedged, it's more than doubled. So significant cost increases there. And farmers are making such low returns on the product that we're producing that we cannot absorb these costs.
Food prices are a key component of overall inflation, and the Bank of England's warned that this new shock to the economy could lead to inflation going up. That's brought with it uncertainty over interest rates too, with the mortgage market already responding. Since the start of the conflict, the average cost of a fixed-rate mortgage has risen, and more than 1,400 deals, around a fifth of the market, have been withdrawn. Today, we learned almost 700 of those were pulled after the bank's decision to hold interest rates on Thursday. From food to fuel, concerns growing over rising prices. Today, the Foreign Secretary accused Iran of a reckless attempt to hijack the global economy. The Prime Minister is expected to hold an emergency meeting next week with the Cabinet and the Governor of the Bank of England to discuss how to deal with the effects of the war on UK household budgets.
Our business reporter, Ezra Carr, there. Well, let's pick up on that with our political correspondent, Damien Grammaticus. So that meeting coming up this week, what is likely to be discussed, Damien?
Jane, the Foreign Secretary already saying today that the impact on the cost of living for families here is the government's top domestic priority. And if you step back and think, before this war, the government was hoping that this would be a period when it would have more of a story to tell about falling inflation and falling interest rates, and the opposite is now predicted. So that meeting this week, yes, looking at probably household energy prices. We already have, of course, the energy cap. That's coming down in a few weeks. Support for those using heating oil. But what to do if there are sustained price rises in future? Universal help or targeted help? That's the kind of thing we think they might be looking at. Food prices mentioned there. The Governor of the Bank of England present signals that things like household borrowing, business borrowing, government borrowing costs, all in the spotlight as well. Though this shows why the government is so keen to see an end to this. While G7 countries have said today, including the UK, they want this ended quickly, why the government has agreed just yesterday that the US can now target shipping and try to protect shipping in the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz. But it's also why the UK government does not want to get further drawn into the conflict and says absolutely it will not be getting in offensive actions. It doesn't want to see that spiral continue.
In a major escalation in the US-Israeli war on Iran, Israel bombed Iran's South Pars gas field, the largest known natural gas reserve in the world. Iran responded by attacking key energy infrastructure in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. Iran launched 2 attacks in Qatar on Ras Laffan, the largest liquefied natural gas production facility in the world.
Israel's attack on South Pars comes days after Israel assassinated 3 more top Iranian figures: Iran's security chief, Ali Larijani, Iran's intelligence chief, Ismail Khatib, and the head of the besieged military, Gholamreza Soleimani. In the latest sign the war on Iran could be just beginning, Reuters is reporting President Trump's considering deploying thousands of more U.S. troops to the Middle East. The Pentagon's also asked for $200 billion from Congress. We're joined now by Vali Nasser, an Iranian-American professor of international affairs and Middle East studies at Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, SAIS. He's the author of Iran's Grand Strategy, A Political History. His recent piece for the Financial Times is headlined, "Iran is Playing a Long Game." He's joining us from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for being with us, Professor. If you can start off by saying exactly what you mean. I think something that people in the United States hear very little of. What is Iran's long game? Tell us about who you believe the leadership is right now in Iran and what they are doing.
Iran is following a strategy that was conceived after the June war, the 12-day war they had with Israel. And it's being implemented systematically by commanders, decision makers in government and in the military. It's not dependent on one decision maker, as we saw that Israel killed Iran's supreme leader, and yet Iran was immediately able to retaliate and engage in the war. Iran has established a way of governing and fighting, which is called mosaic military strategy, mosaic government management, which is not dependent on one person. And it understood that it's going against much more powerful militaries, Israel and the United States, and it's not going to fight their war. It's going to fight the war that it wants. It's willing to absorb the hits that it's getting from Israel and the United States, and it thinks the longer that the war goes on, the less Israel and the United States will be able to defend against Iranian missiles because they're going to run out of interceptors. They had calculated the war would be quick. They have plenty of offensive bombs, but they don't have sufficient defenses. And we're seeing that more and more of Iran's deadly missiles are landing in Israel. They're landing in the Gulf. And also Iran decided to wage a longer war on global energy and the global markets using drones, mines, low-level ammunition, not necessarily ballistic missiles, to attack the Gulf economies across their energy fields as well as trade. And it calculated that the longer that this war goes, the less prepared the United States is for the consequences. President Trump calculated on a short war. He said he was surprised Iran attacked the Arab countries. He was not prepared to be 3 weeks into the war and perhaps much longer. The longer this war goes on, the more Iran is building leverage and the more the strategic calculations of Israel and the United States appear to be falling short.
Professor Nasser, if you could comment on the fact that the U.S. has deployed now, or is in the process of deploying, 2,500 Marines to the region, because, of course, you've mentioned Iran's war essentially on the global economy in a way to impact both America and Israel, who have much larger militaries. So in this asymmetric warfare, the Strait of Hormuz is a central question, its effective closure. But now with these 2,500 Marines in the region who will reportedly be tasked with working towards reopening the strait, how does that change the equation for Iran, if at all?
Well, it's not very clear what 2,000 Marines can do, and they cannot arrive in the region immediately at any rate. It takes them 10 days to 2 weeks to be there. Perhaps the president was calculating that either there's a scenario in which that they could attack the northern shores of the Persian Gulf, the shore where Iran is sitting on top of the Straits of Hormuz, or capture some Iranian islands, either the Kharg Island, where Iran exports most of its oil from and the U.S. has already attacked, or other islands. But I think after the United States and Israel tried to put pressure on Iran by attacking its gas field, and then we saw how Iran retaliated, this whole strategy may no longer be working. In fact, we saw President